My job is to talk about Bill and what we remember about him, but before we do that, I have to get into a costume. Those of you who know Bill would understand this costume because other than maybe at a funeral or a church, Bill always had this on. And so he was a photographer, and so he always had his photographer jacket on. And the other thing about Bill is he always had a supply of pens and his trusty notepad, because Bill was fascinated by life and everything going on, and he never wanted to miss a chance to write something down. So what we want to do is just share some observations. His family got together recently, and we were just trying to, in an effort to eulogize Bill and just to remember him, is just talk about what there was special about Bill and what his qualities and traits are, and why we cared for him. Cynthia's main thing that she started, and she said, to know Bill is to love Bill. Kind of like he's the kind of guy that nobody did not love. So I'm just going to read some of the words that popped up, and if we're very okay with audience participation, so if the Spirit moves you to say some word we've forgotten, we want to get it down here. But that he was funny, humorous. Bill loved puns, and he loved silly jokes. He loved to be silly, especially with the right amount of scotch. Bill could be very silly. I've even seen him stumble a number of times. He was brilliant, very, very smart. He went to the University of Colorado. He was a perennial, forever staunch Buffs fan. He eventually got a master's degree as well. Bill was a loyal person, very patient, very strong, courageous, certainly with his illness these last couple of years. I don't think I ever heard Bill whine or complain or moan about anything, despite being in some pretty good pain at times, or taking any number of medicines, or dealing with chemotherapy. He was, forever a Marine and forever a trooper. Mild-mannered. One thing I liked about Bill is Bill was not we come from a family that likes to be cynical and trash other people. It's a very negative trait. But the cool thing about Bill was Bill didn't participate in that kind of thing. He would listen, he would chuckle, but Bill was he just thought that was wrong, and he didn't talk bad about anybody, which was a great quality of him. Always had a smile. Very easy for him to see something positive and good. Bill was also very patriotic. He certainly was a Marine, and he took that very, very seriously. He often had his baseball cap that said Marines. Anything on TV or movies about the Marines, he was right there. He never forgot that part of his life. Semper Fi was his slogan and everything, even his illness. He was very patriotic about the United States. Believed in his country, believed in free enterprise. He had his definite ideas about how we should fix things, but we can talk about that later. Bill was very trustworthy. I'm kind of doing the Boy Scout things. You kind of hear that theme here. He was the consummate Boy Scout type. Bill was very dedicated in his business. He was very dedicated at duty-free shops. He was quite successful and ended up being the CFO of that organization. Bill was also frugal. He saved a lot of money. He earned a lot of money over the years, and he saved a lot of money over the years, and he invested very wisely. And he cared a great deal about his clients. Even in these last couple of years when he's been sick, he's maintained a few clients. And Cynthia, the preacher said he became a consultant. His expertise was if you thought you wanted to open a little shop in an airport, Bill would work out, how many square foot you should have and what the airport was going to charge and whether it was economically feasible for you to have a shop in an airport. And he had a lot of people that really depended on him. Bill was a very prepared person, very disciplined person. The other thing is, not only was he bright, he was interested in everything. He loved all types of movies, all types of books. He was very well read. Bill could talk about anything. One thing I knew, if I was going to have Bill at a dinner party or at my house, if ever I was bored or didn't know what to do, I knew that I could sit down next to Bill and talk about anything. And he could also talk to anybody of any age. My father-in-law was often at our house, and he's probably 18, 19 years older than Bill, and they could talk about anything. My son, who's 30 or 31, what are you?
30.
Anybody can talk. He can talk to Bill, and kids too. Kids love Bill. They were drawn to him. As Cynthia, she referred to him as a kid magnet. If there was a 5, 6, 7, or 8-year-old kid, they were going to be drawn to Bill. My son said what he remembered when he first met Bill many years ago was that Bill was like the character Tick-Tock in The Wizard of Oz Part 2, because Bill sort of had this bit of a, his legs were not the straightest, and he kind of had a bit of a rock to him, and Alex was drawn to that, I remember, because of Bill's style. Bill was a good writer. Bill also loved animals. He loved wildlife. He was also a great photographer, and that's why he always had this on. This is for all his rolls of film, and he was a big 35mm nut for many years, and then digital came along. He immediately went out and bought the most expensive Nikon camera you could have, and he would do that about every 18 months. He would also do that with every computer. As soon as there was a new dollar whistle, faster processor, Bill had to go out and buy it. No matter, even if he was already into overkill, he had to have the latest electronics. We thought Bill was approachable, gentle, humble, kind. The other thing about Bill that was great was he was very kind to his mother. Thelma, if any of you knew her, she was a sweetie. Bill wasn't that big himself, and Thelma was about 1.5 feet shorter than Bill. And she was a doll, and he was very kind to her. Bill was a true gentleman, a true Marine, a true soldier, never a complainer. One story we wanted to tell you about him in the Marines. He was in about 3.5 years. He went in after he graduated from Boulder in 1961, and he was an excellent marksman. He ended up teaching eventually other people how to shoot. But his first assignment, he and 11 other Marines were sent in to Laos on a secret mission. Nobody knew about it. And they got into some trouble. Sniper fire started, and Bill was shot. Bill had to put a tourniquet on his leg and hike out quite a bit of distance. Of the 12 men who went in, only 4 came out. Bill was obviously one of them. So he got a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. And anyway, he had to do like you see in the movies, the tourniquet on and off, and saved his leg. Years later, when he was working at Quantico, which I think is a Marine facility outside D.C., they were putting up the Vietnam Memorial. And Bill wanted all the 12 guys' names to be up there, especially the 8 guys who died. And they didn't want to do it, partly because it was a secret mission. There was some politics involved. Kennedy had sent these Marines in there. But after 1.5 years of complaining and rabble-rousing and whatever Bill and his other buddies did, they got these guys